Joining us by phone, Erie County Executive, I almost said Erie County Comptroller. Joining us by phone, Erie County Executive, Mark Poloncarz. Mark, thanks for coming. I think it's been so long since we've actually talked to each other that you might have been Erie County Comptroller last time I interviewed you.
It's quite possible, and it happens often. I'll be at an event, and they'll be like, "Yeah, we got our county controller here," and then the person realizes and goes, "Oh, well, that was a few years ago."
Yeah.
But it's good to be here.
Now, you were comptroller for 6 years. You've been executive now for, 12, with 3 more to go, or 4 more to, something like? Anyway.
I am in my 14th year, so 13 years as county executive with basically 2.5 left.
And you have announced that you are not running for re-election as executive. President next? Maybe governor?
Well, let's put it this way. For now, I'm not running for county executive. What happens? We're working on a few things and keep an open mind. Let's put it this way. In this business, things change daily, so you never know what's going to be the next result. But this is my 4th term as executive. As you know, this is my 20th year in county government. I'm having fun finishing up the work, the projects like the Bill Stadium and ErieNet and other things, but it's time to move on, and so I'll give someone else another opportunity. It's not that I don't feel like if I ran I would win again. I'm not worried about that. It's more of, I'm one of those people who never wants to feel stale.
Supreme Allied
when that could be, you never know. But when I got elected to my 3rd term, I thought that was going to be it. I figured 12 years, that'll be it. I'll finish the stadium. We'll get ErieNet done. We'll get all these other projects, Little Erie in a good spot. But I also didn't realize at that point we would be dealing with COVID for 2 years.
Right.
And then the top shooting and then the blizzard. So everything I wanted to accomplish in my 3rd term just got pushed into this 4th term. So this is it as it pertains to county executive.
Speaking of COVID, I got to be very open and upfront here. My wife loves you primarily because of your COVID response and your daily updates, and I think your guitar playing might have had something to do with it too. Although that was not my favorite part.
Yeah, either people liked the guitar playing and singing or hated it. There was no in between. It's not that much different than politics. Either they like it or they don't.
Right.
But it was a crazy period. And when it came to trying to kind of just relax and release when I got home after very long days in the office, in which everyone else was at home, but we were here working 14-hour days, I'd pick up the guitar and start playing, and it just became something where somebody said, "Hey, why don't you record a song?" And I did, and who knows? The next thing you know, it kind of exploded. But I had fun with it, and occasionally I still pick up the guitar. Don't put many songs up anymore, but I will every now and then. But more importantly, it's just another thing that when you got a job that's very, not just time consuming, but very intense, you need to have those outlets, and that was a good outlet during what was a terrible period.
Am I correct in remembering that you're a Beatles fan?
I am. I'm a Beatles fan. I'm definitely a fan of 90s Brit rock. I grew up on new wave, but I'll listen to pretty much anything. So I will run the gamut when it comes to songs. My father was a big Johnny Cash fan, so I was a Johnny Cash fan. And when I did a couple of the songs for friends, I recorded some Johnny Cash stuff too. So I listen to pretty much anything. And keep an open mind, but yeah, I grew up early on as a Beatles fan. Which, if you were born in the late '60s, your either parents or other family members were big Beatles fans, so it just automatically morphed into being a Beatles fan, just like the rest of my fellow cousins and family members from that age.
All Western New York Radio celebrated its 19th birthday back in April, so we're now in our 20th year of playing exclusively local music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, aside from when I'm doing this podcast, of course, or when Think So Joe is doing his. But the Western New York community has a very, in my opinion, vibrant music scene. Are there any bands, local bands specifically? And if not, that's okay. I know you're a busy guy, but are there any local bands that you see that, so-and-so is playing at this place, I got to go catch that? Or does your job preclude you from doing that?
It's tough now. I mean, I used to do that years ago, especially when I was in my 20s and 30s. But it's really difficult because I'm usually going to events in the evening. And so if somebody's like going on at 9:00, by then I'm just trying to get home and sleep and relax after a busy day. So I can't say I really get out and see any of the local bands, but you're right. We do have a very vibrant music scene locally. We've had some issues lately with some of the clubs. I was very glad to see Mohawk Place be purchased so that it's still going to be a good facility to see live music, especially for up-and-coming bands that are touring nationally. So we got a pretty cool little music scene here that, based on a community our size, is probably better than we should have. But we're like that in a lot of other areas. We're like that with arts and cultural institutions. We have arts and cultural institutions that we should not have based on the size of our community, but we do because of how big Buffalo and Erie County were at the turn of the 20th century. And as a result, we still have those arts and cultural institutions, and we have a very vibrant music scene. And it's good because you want to have a vibrant city. You don't want to have one that's boring. It's the kind of thing that brings people here and creates a great quality of life. I'm proud that we have it here.
Speaking of bringing people here, and this is actually all going to wrap up into a much bigger topic. I saw a thing the other day, and it was on, I don't know, probably social media of some sort, talking about the fact that dome or no dome, Buffalo's never going to get a Super Bowl, and that totally makes sense. And we'll talk about the new stadium. But one of the points that was made in this clip was that the reason Buffalo can't get a Super Bowl is because we only have X number of hotel rooms. And I feel like it was 4,000. That number sticks in my head. And I feel like that's wrong. I feel like we have a lot more hotel rooms than that. Any idea how many... I feel like we have a much bigger capacity for tourism than 4,000 hotel rooms. Do you have this figure off the top of your head? And if you don't, I totally understand.
I don't have the figure off the top of my head, but the argument is an accurate one. The NFL requires a certain number of hotel rooms within a particular driving distance. And our problem is, even if you include Niagara Falls and then you add what's in southern Ontario and then you include Rochester, we still don't have enough hotel rooms and what would be considered conference space that they would use also during the week, Super Bowl week. It's just we're not large enough. I mean, it's something that we're just, because of the size of our community, we just don't have enough for what the NFL requires. And if you I've seen the requirements to bid on a Super Bowl. They also prefer that you have a certain number of golf courses that are set aside so that they can wine and dine their sponsors on golfing events during the week up to the Super Bowl. Well, nobody's golfing in Buffalo in late January and February. So it is an issue. That's not to say that we don't have a great community that can support an NFL team. But just like Kansas City and Cincinnati aren't getting Super Bowls, Buffalo's probably not getting a Super Bowl, not just because of the stadium issues, but because we just don't have enough of what the extra business things that the NFL wants, starting with the number of hotel rooms within a very short drive. I'm not talking about, they don't want to drive an hour. They want, okay, if we're going to put up our sponsors, if we're going to put up our media, because we get media for all over the world, they get thousands of media credentials that are passed out for the Super Bowl. You got to have it within a certain length from where the facility is going to be, and we just don't have that. And we've talked about it. I've talked it over with our Visit Buffalo Niagara team. We talked over with the Bills. And everyone's response is, it's just probably not going to happen. We might be able to get, and I know the Bills are going for the NFL draft. Right.
But
a lot of that is because
that was very successful
in Green Bay. Right. But part of it is, even though there's a big number of people that attend it, the vast majority of those people who attend it are locals who drive in and out.
Right.
So it's not like they're going to have, there's 100,000 people, or let's say they get 80,000 people. So that's a lot of people for an event. However, we know we can get 80,000 people in and out of Orchard Park, because most of them are driving there for a football game.
Right.
So you can do it if the people are coming in within an hour's drive or something. If you had to get 80,000 people in and out of an event from outside of the area into our area, we couldn't host that. We're not large enough.
Now, back to the stadium. Personally, I wanted a dome, and B, I wanted it to be in the city. I didn't get either of those requests, and it is what it is. But the stadium is going along, supposed to be open for the beginning of the next season, but not fully done by the beginning of the next season. Is this just semantics? I can't tell if this is being overblown or understated, or just it is what it is.
Well, it's not going to be completed but open is a little overblown, because if you've ever been involved in a construction project, especially a new construction project, they often talk about punch list items, like small items that need to be done, but you can get a certificate of occupancy beforehand. For example, they do the bathrooms are ready, but they don't paint the wall. Okay. The bathroom's ready, they haven't painted the wall, but you get a certificate of occupancy, and they'll do the painting afterwards. That's what we're talking about when it comes to the football stadium. The stadium, the keys are expected to be turned over to New York State and then the Buffalo Bills by the end of June next year. So we're basically in a little bit more than a year out. I know the Bills want to hold a couple practice events, and when I say practice, I'm not talking about necessarily football events, but maybe a concert or two or something else to just can see how people flow in and out. Does it work like they expected it to? And then the goal is to open the stadium and have for the first preseason game, and have Josh Allen run out with the team in preseason and regular season games for the 26th season. So I think that seems to be moving along fine. Regarding the location and the dome, Terry Pagula didn't want a dome. He told us that right during the negotiations, and it literally was one of those, if you want a dome, you got to pay for it, governments, and we already put a sufficient amount in, and we weren't about to pay for a dome that the owner didn't want. And then I preferred Buffalo. I was arguing for Buffalo. The team wanted Orchard Park. One of our problems in Buffalo is we really didn't have a shovel-ready site. The only one we really thought that could work was the old Perry projects.
Right.
But at that point, the Perry projects had already been committed to be rebuilding under the project that's going on right now. We didn't really have a shovel-ready site.
I had heard that they were basically letting the Perry projects decay, if you will, in preparation of that being the new stadium. And so I was kind of surprised that wasn't even really part of not the vocal discussion at least. And so now I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it's the Perry projects were closed for a number of reasons, one of which was they were old and unsafe. But they were working behind the scenes with Penrose Development out of New York City for the rebuilding of the Perry projects. And now they have this wonderful project that's going on, which is going to create housing for, I think it's upwards of 500 people, hundreds of families right in that area with new housing. So we need the affordable housing. We need the housing. It was one of those things where if everyone was on the same page and said, yes, we're going to do this, we may have been able to get it done. But the owner wanted to be in Orchard Park. And now, considering he's putting in the vast majority of the money associated with the cost, because they're responsible for all cost overruns, and there's a lot of them, it's one of those things where he was not willing to do that when we were proposing it in Buffalo. It worked out as it is, but it's not exactly what everybody wanted. But we're going to have a brand new stadium that's going to keep the team here for another 30 years, and that's a big victory that we can all be proud of.
Now, you said you wanted it in the city, and you live in the city now, correct?
Yes.
And you used to live in Lackawanna.
I preferred. It's been a long time since I lived in Lackawanna. But it's funny, people still know me as the Lackawanna kid, even though I'm not a kid anymore, and I haven't lived in Lackawanna in 25 plus years.
Oh, I get that. Now, do you feel that if you still lived in Lackawanna, you would want it in the South Towns as opposed to in the city?
Not necessarily. My preference was downtown because the hope was that it would bring more people into the downtown area on more nights of the year. When you do a negotiation, you set, here's what I want to accomplish, and you're not going to accomplish everything.
Right.
I wanted it downtown. We didn't get it downtown, but I got a limited amount of money from the county, $250 million. I got out of the football business, which we pay millions of dollars annually to the team to help subsidize the actual operation of the team in the old facility, and we were paying for infrastructure. I'm out of both of those, so the county no longer has any obligation with that. I wanted a project labor agreement to ensure that the vast majority of the workers would come from Western New York. We got that. We got apprenticeship standards, as well as the most important thing is it's turned out, which is the Bills were responsible for the construction manager, and they wanted that. Okay, we give them that. But if you're going to be responsible for overseeing the construction and doing the architecture, then you got to be responsible for cost overruns. Because if you're running the project, you got to be responsible for the costs associated with it. And they said, okay. Well, that provision alone saved the people of Erie County and New York State hundreds of millions of dollars. The county's putting in $250 million, the state's putting in $600 million, so $850 out of what was originally going to be like a $1.5 billion stadium. Now the stadium is easily over $2 billion. So the additional $500 million that would have been split between the parties is not. The Bills are paying for the whole thing. The Paculas are paying for the whole thing. So I didn't get everything I wanted. I would have preferred it downtown Buffalo, but we came out ahead, and that's the important thing.
Gotcha. Another Buffalo sports team, the Bandits, was it 2 weeks ago or so, won their third National Lacrosse League championship in a row. Now, those games, which, the home games are at KeyBank Center, are regularly sold out, which just, every time I hear that, it blows my mind, because that is not a small stadium, if you will, and lacrosse, in my mind, is not a big sport, and yet Buffalo comes out and overwhelmingly supports this team. Any thoughts on why that? Is it just that we're so starved for? And I don't mean to say this is a bad thing, because Buffalo's great, but are we just so starved for a winner that we will gravitate to that?
I wouldn't say exactly that, though. There's a little bit that's associated with it. Everybody loves a winner. There's 19,000 plus seats in that arena, and the average lacrosse team gets less than 10,000 attending their games. But we're actually kind of in an interesting location for indoor lacrosse and the popularity of it. Not only is it popular with the locals, we are very close to the Seneca Nation, and of course, lacrosse is the national sport of the Haudenosaunee. So there's a lot of folks who come up or Seneca Nation members who go to the games, and as they call it in Canada, box lacrosse is pretty popular. So we get a lot of Canadians that come across too. And it's a good product. It's a fun product. It's not that expensive. It's not like buying a ticket and the lower sections, the 100 or 200 level sections for the Sabres, which are pretty expensive. So it's more of an inexpensive,
not a very good product.
I wasn't going to say that, but
I know you're a hockey
for a
fan.
long time.
Hockey is my number one sport, has been my whole life, and will continue to be. But man, it has been painful these past 10 years.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like I'm a level 4 USA hockey coach. I coached hockey for a long time. I saw things, not so much in the last year, but beforehand, where these guys were making just basic mistakes. And I'm like, I'd be mad if one of my peewees or bantams did that. Not angry, but like, I got to do a better job of coaching them. When you see an NHL player do that, it's like, what is going on? Yeah, the Sabres have been a problem. I do think, personally, after seeing the team and what they've done, they are headed in the right road. They just hired Kelkalainen as a special assistant, and he's very respected, former GM of Columbus. And I think if they can figure out their goaltending, get Owen Power, someone to help him on defense. He's certainly not a defensive stalwart, even though he's a very exceptional offensive player on defense. They're going to be okay. I hope they can compete for the playoffs next year. They should. The only problem is they're in a really tough division and that has a lot of good teams. But the time is now. The Sabres have to get to the playoffs after a lot of poor years.
Special assistant, is that like GM in waiting? Are we just waiting for Kevin Adams to make another top 3 reference? Because I can't tell you how much I could not comprehend the fact that he still had a job the next day.
That was not a good thing for him to say. One thing when you're in the business and dealing with the public, you have to seriously consider some of the stuff you say, and even if it's joking, It can be taken out of hand. I've done it. I've done it myself. I'll respond to a question and I'll say something which, when in response to the question, sounds appropriate. But if they just put that line out there separately, then it sounds like you're a jerk. So you gotta. And it happened. It happened to me, and it's what you don't want to sit there and measure every word that comes out of your mouth. But in a position like that, you got to be careful, because you can say something that maybe was tongue in cheek, but it comes out as just tone deaf.
So sometimes my sense of humor has the same bite. And I actually made a joke with you via email, and I wasn't sure if you got the joke or not. I'm like, oh man, he's going to think I'm an ass. And
no, I got that joke, but I get it.
Similarly, a couple of years ago, when Nick Langworthy first won his election to Congress, now I've known Nick for years and years, I sent him a message, and it said something to the effect of, I hate everything you stand for, but congratulations. Or what, I don't remember how I worded it, but it was something along those lines. And it was legitimately meant as a, hey, congratulations, Nick. But I don't think he I think he just saw the I hate everything. I think he just saw the I hate everything you stand for part and ignored it. But anyway, we're hoping to get Nick on the show.
I'll give you an example of it. So I recently was asked by a meeting of the editorial board of the Buffalo News about issues in the town of Amherst, and were we doing things with this new park that we're doing in the town of Amherst to assist the Democrats as the elections is up this year in the town for supervisor and council member. And I said, no, this project's important on its own. And oh, by the way, we're going to wipe the Republicans off the face of the earth this fall. All that was is Poloncarz says they're going to wipe the Republicans off the face of the earth. So then I got criticized for saying I wanted to kill every Republican. I'm like, no, I was responding to a question in regards to the election this fall. It's just how it happens. And so, yeah, I'm sure Kevin walked out of that after that statement thinking, oh my God, what did I say? Why did I do that? I don't necessarily look at Kelkaline as GM in training or in waiting. It was a good decision by Kevin to hire him. I'm hoping it results in a better team, and if it does, then that's good for the team and it's good for the community.
Now, backing up a little bit, you have to be extra careful, I feel, because you could cure cancer, and people would find fault with that. I originally messaged you on X to get you on the show, and I waited a little bit because I wasn't sure if you maintained your own X account, because I don't think I would if I were you. Because you can post like puppies and butterflies, and the responses are just some of the most vile stuff I've ever seen in my life. People hate you with a fire that I reserve for people who have slept with my girlfriends. And I can't imagine you slept with all of their girlfriends. So what is it?
No, I slept with none of them, but I look at it. Yeah, first off, there's a group of these individuals that aren't even real. They're bots and trolls.
Right.
They're bots, and there's bot farms out there, and they'll just attack you no matter what you post. And you're right. I could cure cancer. I could announce I am giving personally every county resident $500 out of my own money, and someone would criticize me saying, well, I want $600 and you're not paying it out of your own money, it's coming from the county. It really doesn't matter. And I've learned that. When you get in this business, immediately there's a certain percentage of them never going to vote for you. And there's some that are going to automatically hate you because you're a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I hate Democrats, and vice versa. But there's a lot of them that aren't real. I do, with others, I'm not the only one I have access. I don't want people to think I post everything that's on my pages, but I post a lot of it. And some of it comes from my team, but I look at some of the comments every now and then, and it just gives me a chuckle, because I'm thinking, if these people are wasting this much effort, if they're real people, first off, but if they're real people wasting this much effort to constantly respond to everything I do, they need to look themselves in the mirror and say, I could be doing life better. And if they think it's bothering me, it like angers me and it ruins my day, it doesn't. I just let it slide. I mean, I understand the business I'm in. I just feel bad that if they are real, they're wasting all their time and effort thinking that they're, as they say, owning me, when in fact it just kind of makes them look a little sad.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. Now, ending on a political note, the Buffalo mayoral race, currently 5 Democratic contestants, and you have thrown your weight behind one of them You endorsed Sean Ryan fairly early on, back in January, February, right?
Well, the Erie County Democratic Committee endorsed Sean back then, which the process had to be done by February. I officially announced my endorsement this past week.
Gotcha.
I think everyone kind of assumed I was going to do it.
Sorry, I apologize. I had seen that you said something on X about, endorsing him, but I thought that was just reiterating an earlier endorsement, so I must have misunderstood.
No, the Erie County Democratic Committee did an official endorsement that was done by the zone chairs and committee members from the city of Buffalo. And all the candidates had to work for it, and some of them worked for it, others didn't. My personal endorsement came out this past week, and it's partially because I know what's happening in the city of Buffalo. I deal with it, and not only as county executive, but I'm on the Buffalo Fiscal Stability Authority. So I see the finances, I see the issues. I just think at this point we need some new eyes, new leadership to come in and just basically do that top-down review and sort of cleaning to some way, like I did with county government back in 2012 when I came in as county executive. It's just the city is too important to have it be in a situation where it seems to be always in financial crisis. It's not capable of plowing its streets alone during the winter. I mean, they always ask the state and the county to assist them, and we can and will when we can. But a city the size of Buffalo should be able to do that, and this has been going back years. This is not something new that's happened during the Brown administration. If you live outside in the suburbs, you live in the north towns or the eastern portion of the city of Buffalo, and you cross the line in the Cheektowaga or Tonawanda, you'll find bare pavement. In the city, you'll see often a road that's not plowed. I just think it's time for a change to move forward. And I know Sean Ryan's experience and his knowledge. I've worked with him in the past, and I feel he'd be a breath of fresh air that's needed for the city of Buffalo. City I care about not only as county executive, but because I'm a resident, and I choose to live in the city of Buffalo. I just hope it's done better in the future.
Now, I would imagine, of course, that your endorsement will help to a degree in the primary itself, but come November, I also imagine that the other side will attempt to use that against Sean and say, Mark Poloncarz hand-picked boy, or I can't imagine that if they use that phrase, so help me God. But I imagine that they will attempt to use you against him, correct?
Well, it depends. Listen, if I was very unpopular in the city of Buffalo, then it would probably make sense for them to do that. Based on the polling numbers I've seen, I don't think I'm very unpopular in the city of Buffalo. And you have to remember, the city of Buffalo is not the same as Erie County, just like Erie County is not the same as Western New York. Which, going back to the issue on the social media tax, we've actually, because if people are real, we know they're real. We can see where they live, and some of the people who attack me viciously all the time don't even live in Erie County. We can see that's a real person. They live in Cattaraugus County. That's a real person. They live in Orleans County. So it's kind of funny that when people think, oh, he's not that popular because you look at social media, I think I'm actually pretty popular in the city. And whether an endorsement makes a difference in a mayoral race is always questionable, but I thought it was important to get out there. And if they want to criticize Sean through me, well, so be it. I don't think it would be a very winning argument.
All right. Mark, anything you wanted to mention while I got you?
No, I just appreciate the time and effort, and certainly thank the public for the support through the years. I'm not going anywhere. It's maybe my last term, but as we said earlier, I still got 2.5 years, and I'm going to continue to work, get that stadium done on time, continue to work on our ErieNet project to bring high-speed internet broadband all across the county, as well as the things that we're doing on health and human services, and continuing to fight for our community against what I disagree with that's happening in Washington, D.C., and I just appreciate everyone's support as I go about and do that.
Mark, I know you're a very busy guy, but I would not hate doing this on occasion, every couple months or something.
Every couple months might be tough, but I could definitely do it a couple times a year. So if you ever want to talk again, don't be afraid to reach out. I'll be glad to discuss.
All right. Mark Poloncarz, I appreciate you, my friend.
All right. My pleasure, Scott. Take care.
You too.